So welcome to part 2 of my sexual healing video. Um, it's been a few days, and of course, after I made the video, I had so many thoughts come up and feelings and things that I hadn't said or I wanted to say. And, you know, it's hard to talk about that subject in like 20 minutes. It's just, like I said, it's so huge. So anyway, there are a few things that came up in the last few days that I just really want to offer you. And so let's just get right into it. Self-love. Now, as we talked about before, self-love, the idea of taking a break from men or women, taking away a little break from interacting sexually, even flirting, just taking a little break from engaging, okay? And taking time, intentional time for yourself and nurturing your relationship with source energy. Now, I want to say this again. So you can call source energy what you want. Your higher power, your higher self, divine intelligence, cosmic connection, God, source energy. I like source energy because it's just kind of neutral. And I say this and emphasize it because a lot of times sexual abuse can happen when you're growing up under the guise of religion. You can be manipulated in a religious way in the name of God. It can get really extreme to like ritual abuse and sacrifice and all that kind of stuff. Or just being raped, and told, don't you tell a soul, or, like you'll have to marry your grandfather. I knew someone who actually had a grandmother whose husband was abusing their grandchild, and that's what she said to the child. You'll have to marry your grandfather if you tell anyone. Well, you can imagine. So marriage had all sorts of confusing meanings for her. And anyway, so I like to, you've got to find your own language that works for you and isn't triggering, because sometimes, like, I even know for me, the word God has been triggering for me. When I landed on source energy, I was like, oh, it really calmed me down. It was wonderful, wonderful relief for me. So whatever works. So, okay, so you get the idea. So nurturing a relationship with source. Now, why are we doing that? Why would we take a break and take care of ourselves and nurture that relationship with ourselves? Because we want to develop trust. And when you've been the recipient of abuse and mind control and, emotional, the whole thing, you get the gamut, however it's played out for you, you lose trust in yourself. And often we have lost ourselves in another person. In my very first video in this series, I talked about wound mates. Now, a lot of times we'll get hooked up with a guy. We have all this connection and feeling. But really, it's not a soulmate. It's not a heart connection. It's a wound connection. And that's, once you get attached and that relationship puzzles itself in, that's when all that stuff starts happening. And you can get very, very lost. And for me, like, I literally completely lost myself in my marriage. And like when I talked about my feeling of spilling over and falling on the pavement and my face smashing on the cement and like dragging my face across the cement, that spilling out of like losing myself. And I noticed that every kind of connection that I've encountered since I've been out on my own, there's been an element of that, where I kind of feel like I'm spilling out. And I'll get messages from my internal guidance system, but I've been so confused and I don't always listen to the messages, or I try to explain them, or I create a whole story around the person. I have a very strong imagination, as you can probably have witnessed. And so, I can get really like grandiose. Well, so taking time for oneself, you can develop, you get to know yourself, and you get to learn your triggers. What are your triggers? What are your desires? Where do they come from? What are you really looking for in life, and why? Like, okay, let's say you want a life mate. Well, why? What's it? How is that going to serve you? Now, okay, so you want to develop the trust, and trust in your own ability to like set boundaries for yourself. Like there was a man in my life recently, and he's got a lot of issues in his life, but he's a really cool person too. And we were kind of flirting and playing around, and I realized, wait a minute, what are you doing, Eliza? Like, I started to look ahead at what that might look like if I engage sexually with this person. And, I realized, and we had a good talk about it. And I said, I've learned that my sex and my heart and my mind are all connected. And I said, I'm not going to have sex with you. I said, I'm not going to expose my heart to someone who's really not available and has a messy life, why would I, but there was an allure there because we would have these really good talks, and they were really open and understanding, and, and it was a little, it was a great learning for me. And I think that's what I want to say too. Like, every relationship, as you step out into the world, and you're healing and you're liberating yourself from an abusive patterning system in your being. So there's going to be a process. It's not like you can just stop having abuse. It's not like you can just say no. I actually thought I could do that. I was like, okay, I'm done. And then, like, in my video Sadness, I started noticing that, like, I had issues in other relationships. It wasn't just my marriage. So, but sexually, and especially like as women, when we have sex, like, we have hormones that get stimulated, and we just naturally start to want to attach to somebody. I find it very annoying sometimes, but it is great guidance. And I've learned a lot about myself that, wow, like, I do that. So, like, I have to protect my heart, like, from that experience. And the way that I protect my heart is not having sex too soon. Now, maybe you have a wild night, you're traveling and you're stranded somewhere, or, okay. And it's funny because I've had my wild nights, but even with a wild night, I still notice my heart gets a little tingly, and it takes me a little while to sort of recover myself just from like a wild night, So more and more, and well, like I said, at this point now, there's just a breathing space right now. And it's really wonderful to get to know yourself. And so basically, we're learning how to trust ourselves. We're learning how to listen to our inner guidance system. When you're connecting with another person, their issues are there, your issues are there, and you're like navigating all this terrain, and you can be getting triggered, and it's hard to hear your own guidance, and especially if things get escalated with the person. So, even in my last experience, my last relationship was wonderful, and we had a really like beautiful thing. And it was what it was. And, it wasn't something that we knew was, our age differences were, we were 30 years apart. And, and I mean, at some point, I knew he would want to have a family, and I would never, want him to not have that. I mean, he's going to be a beautiful husband and a beautiful father one day. And, and I wish that for him very much. And it was just a very unusual connection that happened. And it was beautiful. And we were able to really communicate our way through the whole thing, knowing that it was going to have a lifespan. We both knew, this is going to have a lifespan, even though we have closed our sexual relationship together and we've moved into developing a friendship and, moving into a different kind of relationship, which is very new for me too. Learning how to come out of a relationship without some big ending, where it's a big dramatic end or it's a big traumatic end. Oh, So anyway, but even in this beautiful experience, of course, my heart got activated. And there was a point where it was kind of, we were realizing we were kind of coming to the completion, and I went sideways and he went sideways, and we kind of freaked out for a little while. And that was hard to have that freak out. I mean, my heart hurt so much. I was so sad. And, seriously, there was a couple weeks where I really thought I was going to die from the sadness, like it hurt so much, even though like my intellect understood. And this is a really kind of cool thing, like an interesting thing. In our brains, there's a nerve that goes through our brain and comes down through the center of our body called the vagus nerve. And when we have emotional or physical trauma in our brain, that nerve gets stimulated and it gets compressed, and we feel that physical experience in our hearts. So when we're experiencing like heartbreak, we're actually having a physical experience, which is why it hurts so damn much. So this is another thing. When we've been traumatized a lot and we've been in that pattern of trauma, that feeling is very familiar because that nerve's getting compressed a lot. We've been traumatized. When we get triggered, everything gets all excited. And so we want to learn how to be peaceful. Okay, I talked about this in my my video about being a victim. Vivi Voom. Watch that video if you want to hear what I have to say about being a victim and about learning to be peaceful. But that's what we're trying to do. We're learning how to be peaceful, and the way we do that is we nurture our relationship with ourselves and we practice listening. Something I really like, I think I've said it before, but it's so worth saying again, is that praying is talking to Source and meditating is listening. And, I have a ritual that I do every day now where I kind of express myself to Source. I just sort of, I have sort of my agenda, like things that I'm kind of like putting out to my non-physical helpers. And Source itself, that's my prayer. And then I quiet down and I meditate and I listen. And I'm learning how to listen. And developing this practice is really helping me in setting boundaries and making choices in my life and my relationships, because life is relationships. We're not going to escape relationships. We're going to have relationships. And it's wonderful when you can practice with people you're not being sexual with, because, the sexuality triggers all this other stuff. Okay, so we're learning to trust ourselves. Okay, so I guess a couple of things I want to say. Well, I've been really exploring and studying the law of attraction. There's all sorts of incredible YouTube videos on the law of attraction. Abraham Hicks, I love all their stuff. Oh my gosh. I don't think a day goes by that I don't listen to something, some kind of talk from Abraham. Teal Swan is another teacher that I really love. She has a lot of very, very excellent videos. She's a very good communicator, and she was very abused as a child. She had like ritual sexual abuse and all this stuff, and she was a cutter. And so I really relate to her, and she has beautiful things to say about our spirituality and about all the different things in life and all the stuff we go through. So I highly recommend her. And I mean, there's all sorts of people talking. Wayne Dyer talks about law of attraction. Louise Hay. Once you hook in, and you start watching things that, you can, you got to find people that you resonate with, like some people may not relate to Abraham Hicks, but they'll relate to Wayne Dyer, or whatever, but they all interconnect and they all interviewed each other too and stuff. So there's all this, but basically this is really cool. So the law of attraction, it's the understanding that we live in a vibrational universe. Everything is vibration. We're all interconnected with energy. We're all connected. It's all one big vibrational system. And so the most strongest law on planet Earth is the law of attraction. And so how do you attract something that you desire? Well, a lot of times we think, okay, we want that thing and we're going to work our way towards that thing. We're going to get in the boat, turn upstream, and paddle towards that thing we want. And with the law of attraction, you don't do that. You turn the boat around, and what you do is, because why do you want something you want? Let's say a lover. Okay, we're talking about sexual healing. So you want a lover. Why do you want a lover? We were saying that at the beginning. Why do you want a lover? Well, you want a lover because you believe that in the having of that lover, you're going to feel a certain way inside. Just like if you're imagining a certain job, you want a certain career, and you really want that. Why do you want that career? Because you believe the having of it is going to make you feel a certain way. And so in the law of attraction, what you do is you start to nurture good feeling thoughts that you believe you're going to have at the attaining of whatever this is you're desiring. And now we'll just call it a lover. So you start to become the person that you believe you'll be with this soulmate or this twin flame or this relationship. And when you start to have the feelings of that happening, the natural thing in the universe is it will bring to you what you desire. It will come naturally. My last lover, I wanted a young lover. I wanted something, because I travel, and I wanted something that was where I was back visiting, spending a lot of time at that point. I wanted someone back there, someone young, someone, I wanted it to be fun and meaningful. And I didn't want my heart to get really wrecked up. I wanted it to be something really beautiful and that, would have a different kind of path and ending that I've had before. First day I got there, I met this guy. And like I said, what happened with me with him is that I really felt cared for and safe and appreciated. And my heart had a chance to open up. And it was interesting because I was traveling a lot. So, there was a lot of time periods where we were apart, and I was able to regroup and come back into myself again. So I wasn't just like always navigating terrain with this person. Perfect transitional relationship. Perfect healing relationship. And so I'm still like, I'm like, wow, like I asked for that, and I just like, and I had the readiness, I had the feelings about it, just my whole energy was about it, and it just came. So this is something I want to talk about, like dating sites. Okay, so let's say you're wanting to get together with someone. You've got that desire, right? In my opinion, there's two things. One, when you have been a survivor of abuse and putting a profile of yourself out there like that, that is really making yourself vulnerable. And now I'll have to confess, I know one woman in all my support groups and all the women I've talked to, one woman who really did meet a guy online, and they really have a beautiful companionship. They have a nice relationship, and they're really navigating a new way of relationship, and it's very healthy. And I love hearing her expansion with this person. I love hearing about their relationship and how things are going and how they're going inside of her. That's what interests me. How's she doing, and how is it going, and reflecting off of another person like that. But it takes a lot of your attention too. And anyway, so dating sites. In the law of attraction, I don't think we need dating sites. I think that when we're ready, we are going to attract the right person to us. And we just have to remember that we're going to attract where we're vibrating. So if you're feeling bad about yourself about something, you're being hard on yourself, or you're having anger, whatever that stuff is, whatever your stuff is that you're dealing with, it will come up and out with another person. It will come up and out. So that's why I say, take time and work on your healing, and, work with a therapist, and, clear yourself, do your best to like really know yourself and feel trusting. So when you are ready, you'll be ready, and you'll be able to set healthy boundaries and you'll be able to have good conversations with a person. I don't believe that relationships have to be hard work. I really don't. I think that we learn that in abusive situations. I'll make it work. Every single woman in support who has gone through the process all get to, they're all at a point, oh, I'm going to make it work. I can make it work. I love him so much. Wound mate. Codependency. I mean, that's what it is. That's what it is. So love yourself. Be the love that you desire. Be the lover that you desire. It's like I said in my first episode, my sexual healing, the first, part 1, dress for the date of your life every day. Like, just be the lover that you desire. Like, be the beautiful, magnetic, loving, charismatic, comforting, loving, energetic, exciting, and loving your work and loving what you do, and just enjoy your life. Enjoy your life. A lot of us who are codependents, we have a very hard time being on our own. We just always want to be in that lockdown with someone. And you know what? It's not joyful. That's not joy. That's not a joyful relationship. Now, we do have contrast in the world. Like, you can't know what you want unless you know what you don't want. And that's part of the law of attraction, that you have to understand there's always going to be a polarity. And, it's not like you can ignore the darkness, but we have to learn how to be in the darkness with ourselves. We have to learn to go into our shadow sides, and that's where, taking time and being in therapy and exploring your triggers and understanding what's going on and allowing yourself to, integrate your experiences and heal and learn how to feel peaceful. Like I always just learn that it's a practice. You don't just become peaceful. It's challenging to become peaceful. It can be very, very challenging to become peaceful because we're so used to all the freaking noise of abuse. And it's so familiar. And it really does feel scary to start to feel peaceful and to like experience quiet. And, meditation, that's why meditation's so helpful, because it's a practice in being quiet and just listening. Esther Hicks talks about when she starts to feel herself going wobbly, like getting off her center, okay, called alignment, when we are aligned with our source, when we're in our center. And she said she'll like listen to the refrigerator sound. It's sort of like looking at a candle, and just focusing on that one thing. Because you do that for a certain period of time. She says it's like 20 seconds or something, or 68 seconds, or I can't remember. She's got so many seconds you stare at this thing or listen to the sound, and it'll help you change your thought. If you're having like a negative thought that you don't really want to be thinking, because especially like if you're recovering from like abuse or heartbreak or whatever, God, it's just like that thought just wants to, you wake up in the morning and it hits you like a train wreck, and you're like, oh my gosh, so it's learning how to be peaceful and how to transform, that shadow side into what you're really desiring, So I guess those are kind of the main things I wanted to talk about, just, trusting yourself, taking time for yourself, why we're doing that. And, and that you don't have to put yourself out there if you want to have a relationship. You have to put yourself out there. The universe hears you, Source hears you. You're being heard. You're being witnessed. Life is alive. There's energy. Everything, we're vibrating. We're heard. We have to listen to ourselves, though. And we have to learn to listen to ourselves and get to know ourselves. And like I said, it's very hard to do with another person. So again, I think it's really helpful to take time to yourself. Take time and, get to know yourself. And, when the right relationship comes, it comes. and not being hung up on it being some like lifetime thing, like that's not really realistic. And it's not really free and fun and open and expansive. How about just enjoying each other and saying, gosh, I really like you and this is really feels good. Let's see how it goes one day at a time. No plans, no lockdown. It doesn't mean that at some point you can't navigate some kind of agreements together. I'm not saying that. I think that can help, those kind of boundaries and, can help you grow. If you're both working together to grow and you decide, let's be romantically exclusive, Now maybe you'll have emotional experiences with other people, but romantically, sexually, you've agreed we're going to be each other's reflection. We're going to be each other's attachment figure and we're going to be together. And it can be very, very beautiful, joyful experience. But, you don't have to get in lockdown with somebody. That's just not free and fun. And that's like fear-based. When you really like, I want to get married, I want that partner. I want that life partner. And I just want it now. And I just want it in lockdown, like that's just fear-based, and when we take time for ourselves and we learn to trust, we face our fears. That's what we're facing. We're facing our fears of being alone, and when you face that and you start being the lover that you desire, you start to fill that place in yourself with love. It's beautiful. Loving yourself is so beautiful. You don't need anyone. It can be nice, but it can also be very difficult if you're not ready. If you're not a vibrational match for that high, loving energy that you really do desire, you're not going to create that. You're going to create someone at your vibrational frequency. And if you're sending off any kind of neediness or toxic energy, it's going to come back. And that's what you're going to be navigating in that relationship. Do you want to be doing that? Want to be navigating that stuff with another person? It's like me saying no to sex with that one guy. I saw it. Now, if it had happened a year ago, I would have hooked up with him. And I would have probably been crying every day. But I saw it. I was able to have my feelings, see that I had the desire. He had a lot of nice qualities, but I was able to say, no, thank you. Not going to go on that. Not going to go down that road. I see where that's going. That's not going to be joyful. Must not be the right person. Again, trusting. If the person's not coming to you, maybe Source is trying to help you with something. Maybe Source is trying to woo you and get your attention. It wants your love. It wants to line up with you because it has so many goodies to offer. Because when you're tuned in, you're tapped into your guidance system. And when you're being guided, your life is really so much easier and more joyful. You feel guided. It doesn't mean you're not going to hurt. Doesn't mean that you're not going to grieve things and have losses and go through stuff. That's part of life. There's the shadow. There's the contrast. We're going to have those experiences. But we can still be filled with love and let Source guide us through those passages. They don't have to wreck us up. We can go through things with grace and understanding, and compassion. So take some time and take care of yourself and get to know yourself and fall in love with yourself. It's wonderful. Okay. There might be a part 3. I'm not sure.